Where do we begin? Where do we begin with this? I mean, there's no... Who would want to have been that judge in court who had to make up that ruling?
A horrific task for the judge. But I think in this case, you have parents who are so obviously committed and dedicated to their child. And as with any parent, you would do anything. You would fight to the very, very last moment for your child. But sometimes a parent isn't necessarily the right person to be able to see what is best for a child, and it's at that point when you've got the medical professionals all saying this chance is virtually not there and it could cause more pain, that's when you need another person to come in and help make that decision.
Doctors can get it wrong. And there was that famous case a couple of years ago of Aisha King, who was taken to... when the NHS said the treatment won't save the child, and in fact the child was cured of cancer. And I'm sure the clinicians at Great Ormond Street, who have saved lives on a regular basis, they will have given it all the possible consideration they've done, and I'm sure the judge didn't come to the decision lightly. But Alison, you're wrong. Judges can get it wrong, doctors can get it wrong. But Nick, these parents...
Nick, can I say, parents can sometimes get it wrong as well. However hard that is to hear. And what I'll say to you is, and Alison was right, and she said, what parent, what human being wouldn't care for that child? You do social media, yeah?
Yeah,
Go on social media.
Sure.
How many other cases like this do you see? You see so many sick children, children that need medical funds, all sorts of things. There's no bad cases. But your emotion as a parent is, yeah, let's do this, let's raise money, talk about my child.
Also, Nick, if I understand this correctly, with Aisha King, his parents took him out of the hospital. This little boy, as far as I understand this, and I'm not a medical, expert in any way, is that he would not survive coming off a ventilator, off that life support machine. So even if they said now, we're ignoring all your advice, we're going to take our child, he would die quite quickly.
Well, they would have to transfer, as I think Alison was about to say, but there's some kind of treatment that's not even been tried on animals or any form of life. Now, it could be holding out false hope, but those mum and dads will go to their respective graves, always think two words: what if?
Yeah.
And I think that's almost a life sentence for them.
But I think it's sort of quite the opposite, in that they've done everything they possibly can, and somebody else... That judge is not only hopefully giving little Charlie the option of dying with peace and dignity, he's also actually taking that dilemma away from the parents, because they have only got one choice, which is to follow their instinct to keep their child alive, which might not be the best thing for him. Also, the slight difference with Aisha King as well is that he was being treated with a treatment that was being widely used elsewhere. No one has ever done the treatment that this chap in America was promising this family.
Who actually has now said, actually, I didn't realise that this child was quite so ill when he offered that treatment.
And also there's another issue, I think, that sometimes in America they will try anything if people are prepared to pay for it. Whereas I think here we still have a medical profession which puts the child's needs first.
I mean, this child, Charlie, actually has a barrister acting on his behalf. So there's a barrister acting on behalf of the parents and one on behalf of Great Ormond Street. I didn't know until I was reading about this more deeply today that there's a barrister just for Charlie. So saying, this child has rights and has to be protected too.
Well,
and she's saying that this treatment is more a wish than a chance of him getting better, that there's absolutely no scientific medical evidence that treatment would save his life.
And you're right to talk about the power of social media, because you'll be aware they've raised parents have raised £1.3 million. This child, and I hate to talk about this as a human life, but he's not going to be a burden on the NHS. It's not as if we're going to keep him on ventilators until he's 20. It is one, and again, I hate to use these words, it is one last roll of the dice that would, I think, afford the parents the right... And I mean, just very briefly, as you may or may not be aware, I had a brother who had a very serious road accident. He was a backseat passenger back in 1968. My parents were told that he was dead and they wanted his organs. My mother reacted pretty vociferously to that, so then, pardon the language, but my parents were told he'll only be a vegetable. I'm sorry if the viewers are upset, but that's the language they used in the 60s. My parents said, well, we'll just keep him like that. He lived for 34 years, 30 of which he worked with, not all the time, but was a reporter for Alison at the Daily Mirror. He had a fantastic life. Doctors get it wrong. That's all I'm saying.